Hello, people of Connecticut Common Sense. My name is Selena Rifkin, and my guest today is Faithalee Goclowski, which I may have murdered your last name, even though you just told me exactly how to pronounce it, and I apologize
You
for
did
that.
just fine. You did just fine, thanks.
Thank you. Faithalee is a resident of Waterbury, and I have her on the show today because Faithfully is an example of what happens when we have a government that doesn't listen to our concerns and which is utterly susceptible to the whims of the general public. And we don't have Faithfully's camera is not working great, so we're not going to see her today, and maybe she'll come back eventually and have the camera thing straightened out. But for now, most of you are just listening anyway. So let's get started.
Okay.
So how this all started for her was that she has some food allergies. And so she wanted to have some chickens so that she could eat the eggs. So why don't we start with that? Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes. So, with trial and error and many doctor's appointments, we found that because of my seafood allergy and my shellfish allergy, that I found that chickens and eggs are fed oyster shells.
Which
So I did
isn't
some
something that
digging.
ever would have occurred to me, but if you think about it, it makes sense. So,
Right. They feed them to chickens for their shells to make them harder and it's easier to do than, feeding them, all the good healthy nutrients that they need for the calcium. They
right,
just give them the oyster shells.
right.
And with my seafood allergy, I found that every time I would eat an egg, obviously with shellfish, I would have the skin, issues, and my ear would, tickle and itch, and all these food allergy symptoms. So I went to quite a few doctors, and we've narrowed it down to if I had eggs without oyster shells, and I got some chickens. I have 4 years ago. I went to a few of my neighbors and direct neighbors, and I told them about my allergies, and I got permission from all my neighbors. So
Did
after
you
I
get
got,
that in, did you get that in writing or was that later? Because I see.
no, we later on, I have things in writing and I got signatures from supportive neighbors, but it wasn't in writing because this is a neighborhood that we pretty much ignore. We just let her do what everybody does in their yard. We all have a piece of small property and we all do what we do in our backyards.
Right, right,
you know,
right.
so they all have gardens. Everybody does things in their yard, so
Okay.
nobody cares.
Hmm.
So I asked permission from my direct neighbors who would have been affected, and I got an okay from everyone, including the one who initially started making the complaints anonymously.
Now, how many neighbors did you have around your backyard?
So about my backyard, there's a total of one to the right, one directly behind me, and then the one directly to the left.
Okay.
And then kind of like on a diagonal, there's another one because it kind of goes into a pie
Okay.
of a backyard. So there's multiple
Okay.
yards that bump up.
Okay. So you have the blessing of your neighbors. So you got your chickens.
Yes, I got the chickens and I had them for a year and a half. I was getting the eggs one a day from my six hens, and I started noticing that when I would have the eggs or make anything with the eggs, my allergy wasn't as bad, and it wasn't like the skin rashes went less, the itching of the problems with my ears and all that just started to decrease. And I eat healthy, and I have rods in my back, and
Mm.
I have massive injuries to my lower back and my stomach. So my diet aspect of high proteins and no carbs and my clean diet eating to keep the weight off my stomach and my back and everything, I have to literally eat very clean. So that's the other thing too. Like we make our own things from scratch, my
Mm.
own mayonnaise, my own bread, all of it, because of my severe allergies and my dietary needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I had the chickens and I took care of them every day. I have a routine. I'm out there at 6 o'clock every morning. They're quiet. I've never had any issues.
No roosters, obviously.
No roosters. No roosters. Um, At that point, that was it. I didn't have any issues for a year and a half.
So what
And then all of a
changed?
sudden, um, I don't know. One day, it started off with around the season of election time. I had some signs out front, and then that's the time where I had my camper ceased and desist out of my driveway. It was there for very small, minimal time. Off season, if it wasn't parked in Massachusetts, I rented it out, and it was in and out of my driveway.
Hmm.
Um, Nobody ever complained to me or said that, you're not supposed to have this in your driveway, considering there's boats and campers throughout the neighborhood. I didn't think
So
that
this
there would be
was
an issue.
so you this is something that kind of came at you out of the blue. And when was
Out of
this
nowhere.
exactly? This was around the 2022 election?
Yes, no, around the 2020 election,
Oh, okay. Okay.
October. Yeah,
Okay.
so October of 2020, I had the camper in my driveway periodically because when it wasn't parked in Massachusetts at our seasonal site, off season, I rented it.
Okay.
So it was in and out of my driveway often. So they came and they seized and desist my camper. I had to relieve it out of my property. Now, mind you, I pay taxes. It's
Right.
registered, it's insured, it's brand new. And
Hmm.
according to the city of Waterbury, no recreational vehicles are allowed to be parked in the driveway. But I guess boats are
Boats,
not considered.
boats aren't recreational vehicles. They're holes that you pour money into.
Yes, there is that, but they're all over. But my
Right.
camper seems to be an issue. So
Okay.
that happened. And then
And
again,
I'm
like
going
I
to
said,
stop you there and ask you what political signs were on your lawn.
oh, that was around the time of the George Logan and for the local of Connecticut and the Donald Trump signs.
Okay. All right. So just to be clear, because I
Yeah.
want people to know exactly what was on your lawn, because
Oh,
that
yes.
matters. Okay.
Yes.
Please continue.
Okay. So February of 2021, I received a chicken permission, right, from all my neighbors. Um, so at that point, signs went up in late 2022. And, so I started getting anonymous calls in and complaints to zoning. And I received a first letter of cease and desist with my chickens, which was a shock because nobody's ever complained. Nobody came to me. Half the neighbors forgot that I even had them. Because I would ask, like I asked my neighbors, I'm like, even the one who I found out who was the initial anonymous caller, I even asked her, like, do you might have any idea who it could be? And her comment to me towards all the way to the end was, wow, somebody must have it out for you. And it happened to be her the whole time.
And you didn't
Uh,
know that. You
no,
only
I
found that
didn't
out
until
later.
until the health department came and I was told that she left a ladder to look over my fence.
Oh, God.
Um, because she wasn't getting anywhere with zoning because zoning called first, zoning called, sent me a letter. I went and spoke to them. I told them, they asked me if I had roosters. I told them no. I told them why I have chickens. I didn't lie. I didn't hide it. And
Mhm.
they said that you're not allowed to have chickens. I said, but the zoning states that you can have chickens, no rooster in Waterbury. And he says it also states that you have to have an acre of land per 25 chicken. I said, well, I don't have an acre of land, but I don't have 25 chicken. I only have six.
Mhm.
So, and my lot size is a point 0.8 acre, 0.08 acre, but it's in the shape of a pie. So
Mhm.
I invited them over. I said, come look at my coop. I said, everything is neat. Everything is clean. According to the state of Connecticut, you just need 12 to 14 square foot per bird. I've got 460 square foot that they're running around in and they have fenced in yards, 6 foot. They never got out, never got loose in Waterbury, nothing like that's, you know what I mean? Like they're clean.
Mhm.
And he came out, he saw the coop, he saw my area, and zoning was like, all right, he held it off for as long as he could. I have to give the zoning guy, props, but at this point, the health department got involved. They sent me a letter stating that my neighbor stated that my yard was full of feces and filthy and dirty, and I was appalled. Like I was appalled. I contacted the health department, and they came out and while the chickens were still here, and I had two aldermans my alderman and another alderman of Waterbury
Hmm.
present during the inspection with the health department. And basically, they took pictures and all that stuff over my fence. But basically, they literally found nothing. They found that I was not harboring the breeding grounds of rodents. They did not find that, waste or feces in my coop was clean, and my storage was properly, all my food was properly stored and in the metal bins. And basically, they closed it out. It was unwarranted. They closed out the complaint of my yard being the breeding ground for rodents and filthy with feces.
Okay.
So yes, because I clean it. I have dogs. I have, you know what I mean? I have a
Right.
pool in my backyard. My yard is clean. I let them run. I pick
Hmm.
it up. Um, but anyway, at this point, my mother had cancer and I was her sole caregiver. So Cliff from zoning was doing everything he could and being understanding. But when the health department came in, and then I got a letter from the state literally threatening me with criminal charges if I did not remove the chickens from my property. Now, mind you, the year and a half that this has been going on, I asked zoning if I can get a reasonable accommodation. And from the beginning, I was told I would be denied. I asked, well, why am I being denied my due process?
Now,
And then
I have a
basically,
question. Reasonable accommodation, is that something you have to go through the state for, or is that a town level
you
thing?
start off at the town level.
Okay.
And then after you get denied as many times as I have in all the public hearings that I had, even showing support from the people that I showed support for, they still denied me.
Okay.
And now I have literally 15 days. I have to now hire an attorney to do more work. And I have to file through the courts to
Okay.
try because I was just denied again for my reasonable accommodation. So what happened is that with the criminal charges letter, um, in February when I got served that, I was asked by zoning uh, to change the text amendment because almost 51% of Waterburyans have chickens and they have an overabundance of violations of chickens. So
Right.
zoning really it's in every neighborhood, right?
Right. Of
So
course. If
zoning is flooded with chicken violations. So they asked me if I would go in and change the text amendment because at some point, um, I got a phone call from zoning asking me to put the chickens inside. Oh, by the way, the health department told me to bring the chickens inside and put diapers on them. So it can't be that bad of a serious health issue if they said it's okay to put the chickens in diapers and bring them inside, right? So
I'm
zoning
sorry,
called
Faith,
me.
I can't even. I'm like
I
that.
can't either. I
Yeah.
can't either. So I was told by zoning, get the chickens inside. Let me see that they're gone because she's calling again. Basically, he made a comment to me that he got yelled at by the mayor, that my neighbor called the mayor 100 times in 10 days and basically wanted my arrest for the chickens. And he needed to come
Wow.
and see the chickens
Wow.
were off the property before he has to summons the arrest for me. So I found at that point somewhere in Oxford, a friend of mine who owns chickens and has a coop big enough that he was able to house my six hens.
Hmm.
And that's where I brought them. And he came, he inspected, he saw that they were gone.
Okay.
He did again stress that he wants us to change the text amendment. So I called my attorney, and my attorney went to the zoning and for 2 hours sat with both zoning officials.
Hmm.
And 2 hours they sat and wrote how they wanted the text amendment to sound and what wording to change to make it clear that you can have six hens on a small parcel because right now it's not clear. You can have chickens,
Right.
but
Exactly.
not everybody has an acre of land, right?
Right. Most
So
people
I
don't
was
have an
told,
acre of land, you know?
right. So I was told to align myself with the conservation plan of Waterbury.
Hmm.
I was also told to get 15 signatures in direct neighbors or Waterbury residents, 15 signatures.
Hmm.
I was told I needed to get doctor's notes, specific notes stating of my seafood allergy and specific wording that eggs with oyster shells in it would be detrimental to my health. Like, I was told it needed to be completely specific.
Mm-hmm.
So I started on my journey. Not only did I get 15 signatures, but in my direct neighbors, I got all 26 of my direct neighbors except for the one next door.
Right.
So
Mrs.
literally the
Mayhew.
whole island of houses that are on my road and all the way around, I have every single neighbor signature stating that they are in favor of me having chickens. On top of that, I FOI'd all the chicken violators and everybody in Waterbury, and I gained another 60 signatures just in Waterbury residents.
Okay.
Okay. I have my alderman, who is my right side direct neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
okay, who came and stood before me with the zoning commissioners and the zoning board both times, all my public hearings. He spoke for me, stating that he lives downhill. If anybody's going to be affected from my chickens, it's going to be him. That he
Mm-hmm.
knows that my chickens are clean. There's no noise. There's no smell. There's no rodents. Nobody in my neighborhood has rodents except for this one next door who's complaining that I had thousands of dollars worth of damage in her home with wires and electricity and rodent feces, all because of my chickens.
Now here,
The only,
does she have to prove that she has that damage?
well, she has a paperwork from and she had a picture of one rat and some
Okay.
feces. But the issue is listen, there's no dispute between us.
Yeah.
For 4 years that she has lived here,
Mm-hmm.
I've been here since 2020. She moved in a year later.
Okay.
We have been nothing but neighborly. I had a key to her home. I walked her dogs every
Mm-hmm.
day. I took packages. I work from home, so I'm home. I
Right.
take packages off her porch. I walked her dogs. I unplugged her coffee when she forgot it. She would ask me to do something. I took her to Home Depot, to the dump. My
Mm-hmm.
husband helped her fix the pool, building, pulling out her refrigerator. I mean, we were neighborly. She's never had to even plow or shovel her driveway since she moved in because my husband would snowblow it for her.
Wow.
Never once did we have words with each other. And you, for this whole time, a year and a half, almost 2 years now, you've been making anonymous calls on me, like waving to me at the
Wow.
garbage can and then making an anonymous call that I'm causing thousands of dollars worth of damage to your home. I don't understand. She moved in. She's never touched her garage. Now she wants to refurbish it after she's done with her house. And she moved some wood that's been there since before she moved in. And
Mm-hmm.
you found feces. You live across the street from a river. We're right here in Waterbury.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you
Like,
live right
you know
close
what I
to it.
mean? Like, I'm not understanding what is going on. Never once said, hey, do you have a rat problem? Or, hey, do you have rodent issues? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, never asked me, but you just automatically start calling and calling anonymously saying I'm filthy, but then wave to me over the fence. Like, I don't
Right.
understand.
Yeah. It would be nice to have a face-to-face conversation. And just for the
Not a, yeah,
And when we lived in Trumbull, I had a rat problem, and we lived right next to a river. It's like they are there. They like being near rivers. That's their happy place. So this is
right.
not unusual. So the fact that
It's
everyone
not
else
with
around you
chicken.
was not having a problem says a lot more than the fact that
Right.
she was.
Well, if it was brought up in conversation, I would have mentioned that there's two things that if people do have chickens and they're storing their food good and they pick it up at night and stuff, chickens eat rodents. And the way they scratch the ground, they make it undesirable for them to want to be harboring and living in there. So they will not come to your property.
Awesome.
So, you know, yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me that they eat rodents because I know that
no,
chickens
they
are
eat rodents.
actually
They're vicious little
omnivores.
things, you know?
Yeah, I know they're
Right.
actually omnivores, so it's like if it's there, they will eat it.
They will eat it. Yeah. So the point is that we go to the public hearing. I had to spend $660 to file.
Mhm.
I had to get all these notes. So now, mind you, I have four things from doctors. I have my allergist who states I have a severe seafood and shellfish allergy and that I need an EpiPen. I have a letter from my physician stating that I have a severe food allergy. I have a letter from a family practitioner that states more in detail in regards to the oyster shells. And then I went to a naturalist who is known around here, and he also has been treating me for this whole thing, and basically wrote me a detailed letter in regards to my diet and the shellfish and this, the oyster shells and the eggs, and and I have a bunch of references to marine biology and eggs, and I sent it all in.
Hmm.
Now, mind you, I've been getting hoaxed, like helped with zoning all along. And I aligned myself with the conservation plan in, I think, 5 different ways.
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. In alignment with the, so basically, to ensure land use regulations support diverse needs of residents while preserving neighborhood character. The next one would be for community goals, support community health and promote local sustainability practices. I align myself up with existing land use for most of the city's residence lots are small lot urban parcels under 1 acre in size.
Hmm.
And that current plan, the poultry regulation required for 1 acre includes most residents, allowing hens to for typical residential parcels. And that reflects the real land use pattern in Waterbury and makes zoning more equitable and realistic, right?
Right, right.
So, and it's funny how they say I didn't line myself with this, but it's funny how they just gave Willoughby High School $50,000 for an agriculture program for farm to table. Does
Oh,
that make sense?
right. Oh, it's fine if the
Like,
school does it, but if residents do it, yeah, okay.
right. So the only thing that the text amendment was going to change was that anybody that lives in a 1 to 2 family on a small parcel can have up to 6 hens. That aligns with New Haven,
Hmm.
Danbury,
Hmm.
and a few other cities.
Right.
And so, mind you, we went to the public hearing in the first place. Half the people there had no idea that this was even on the agenda, why it was coming there before them. Mind you, the man from zoning was at the top there, and he was like kind of dictating the meeting. And he basically turned it around and got them to all vote no against it. But yet he was the man who wrote it with my attorney. It just makes no sense to me.
That
So
really doesn't make any
it
sense.
doesn't. Right. So I presented him with everything, like my food allergy, my letters, my signatures, my support. Um, Mind you, we went for another public hearing for another commission panel.
Hmm.
They ended up going in and they couldn't make a decision. Like there was so much information, they couldn't make a decision. They pushed it off another month.
Hmm.
Then we show up again. Half the people didn't show for the votes because I needed a majority. The people that were there to speak out against the text amendment in regards to changing the whole zoning text were also stating that they wanted me to have a reasonable accommodation. Go figure. They didn't want me to change the text amendment, but they were in support of me having um, a reasonable accommodation. Now, mind you, because throughout all the public hearings, they realized that I just had a neighbor who was attacking me for no reason at all
Hmm.
because of the certain things that were brought up in regards to it. And how we could say this is kind of political with my neighbor is that since then, we've had a Trump no king sign pointing at our home in our second floor window, pointing at my 12-year-old homeschooler's
Oh,
window.
wow.
So she's a teacher,
Uh-huh.
and she brags about how she likes to teach her kids to be activists. And I have a homeschool student who's 12, and she's not, a fan of that, as we know for living here for 4 years with her. But basically, she's just basically every time there's a political sign out in my front yard, she's calling and reporting. Because after the chickens, so first it was the camper, then it was the chickens, and now she's going after my pet rabbits. So the zoning
Oh,
finally told her to knock it off. You know what I mean? So apparently she's called on police on the neighbors behind us because the weekend before Easter, they had an Easter egg hunt for the children of the neighborhood. And she
uh-huh.
called the police on them because they had a premature Easter egg hunt. So we're not the only ones in the neighborhood that are being subject to this lady, right? So mind
Honestly,
you,
honestly, Faithfully, this that sounds vaguely like mental health problems, but
oh yeah,
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 it
I have
just
no
is
idea.
not a
I don't know.
psychologist, but that does not seem like rational, not even remotely. Like where doesn't make any sense. Not one bit
Hang
of sense.
on, this story gets even better. So we're at the last public hearing, and mind you, they're talking about the bad examples of Waterbury and the chickens and the goats and the animals that are roaming free of Waterbury, right? All the bad examples of Waterbury.
Right,
One of
right.
the men on the commission that are supposed to be voting, he had to excuse himself from voting because apparently he's the bad example. He's the bad example with chickens and goats and his animals leaving his yard. And he's got over an acre. So the man's got over an acre. He's got all these chickens, and he's the bad example because they keep getting loose. But yet I have 6 hens on a point 0.8 acre, and my hens have never gotten loose.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. So he had to literally excuse himself from voting because he has chicken and rooster and goats and stuff. And he's the bad example.
As a writer of fiction, this is very this will be very useful to me in the future.
Oh, wait, it
Say
gets better. So now we're heading down. Now, mind you, the first public hearing that I got denied from the first commissioner, the president of that comes down. He tells me to go for a reasonable accommodation, that
it.
he would approve for that. I said, okay. So meanwhile, I get pushed off a month later. After this, we get denied. And as I'm coming down the stairs, and one of the commissioners like to tell us in front of multiple people, I have witnesses, that the ink was dry a month ago. So basically, they already predetermined that it wasn't going to pass a month prior.
So they've wasted your time and everyone else's.
Yes. And my money and my attorney's time and
Right.
everybody else. Yes. So then I went for the reasonable accommodation. I sent in the paperwork. I put everything into it. I gave them, medical necessity for oyster shells. I've shown them hidden sources of marine allergy inside foods and different supplements and all that. I broke down the scientific, where how there's even tropomyosin in the eggs, which is found in store bought chicken eggs, right? That contain seafood stuff. I showed how I aligned myself with the conservation plan. I have a letter. I have letters from, like I said, the doctors. I showed that I am not harboring breeding ground of rodents from the health department. I
Mhm.
have support letters, and I've got all my petition letters. I have everything, and they still denied me and told me that my medical condition, because of my neighbor's lupus that she claims that she has, who
Right.
never once showed any doctor's note except for one letter from the UK 14 years ago that states, I think this lady has lupus. I had to have specific wording in my letters, but this woman can present a letter from 14 years ago from the UK that states they think she has lupus. She uses that. So I was denied that her diagnosis of lupus is over more worried than my seafood allergy because he called, let's see, he claims he contacted a farm on the first phone call and was able to find a farm that don't feed their chickens oyster shells. I said, you're kidding me. I spent 6 months calling different farms.
Who are these
Waterbury,
people? Who are these
you know,
magical chicken producers?
I'd like to know. And he won't tell me the name of them. And then he finally
Oh,
told me the name of the farm, and I called and they told me that is untrue, that there is no guarantee that they can say that the eggs that I'm going to buy, that chicken didn't eat oyster shells. And no farm will give that liability like that. I'm sorry. They just won't because I
wow.
called them. So Waterbury wants it to be a 15-minute city in here because there's this people in the city that can't get grocery stores or access to food within 15 minutes from their home.
Right.
I cannot find a farm within 15 minutes of my home that I can get a guarantee that they don't feed their chickens oyster shells. So here we are. What are we going to do? I was denied. I have 15 days now, and it's going to cost me close to $5,000. I have to pay another $660 to file another reasonable accommodation, but I have to do it through the courts now. So now my lawyer is going to be now up to almost $5,000 in regards to getting that, and he don't even know if that's going to pass because it's really basically zoning.
Right. Oh my
It's the man who denied me. It's his decision, nobody else's.
wow.
The very man who wanted me to change it in the first place and asked me to get a lawyer to do it, who worked with my lawyer and denied me in the end. I just don't understand what this is all about. Why? 6 chickens. And if it's such, oh, and then the fun part is that the health department, who didn't want to get involved months ago, October 1st, put in a letter in regards to Waterbury and H1N1 in the bird flu epidemic, and that there's a huge scare. Like, where did that come from?
Right.
But
How
yet New
long before they
Haven,
start going around and executing everybody's chickens?
but I said to my state rep, who was the one who said he was going to approve me in regards to the reasonable accommodation after my first denial, he you know I don't even know. It's so crazy. It's just chickens. I said, if this is such a pandemic, they should be doing a sweep of the city. They shouldn't be using the fact that you got to have a complaint based system and getting rid of the chickens. And
Mm.
now they just and then 2 weeks before my last hearing, before I was denied, they put in place and they got it approved very quickly, was $150 a day fine for zoning violations. Now, before there was none, and now they just miraculously come up with $150 fine
Right.
2 weeks prior to my public hearing, so that if I decide to say, screw these people, bring back my chickens, you know what I mean? Like, I'll have $150 a day fine. But I've been compliant ever since. I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't compliant while my mother was dying of cancer. You get what I mean?
Yep.
There
Yeah.
was no grave concerns because I've, had chickens on my property for 4 years and never worried about H1N1 or the flu or any of it. I haven't been sick in 9 years, like with a cold. So I don't understand. My dogs aren't sick. My kid isn't sick. My husband's not sick. Anybody who eats my food when they come over, they're not sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, makes no sense. So
Yeah.
the only thing I can think of is that this is really political retaliation
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at this point. And then on top of that, we have what's going on in the city, and that they're getting called out on a weekly podcast that there's going on out there. And a lot of corruption is being called out.
Mhm.
And just
Can
certain
you tell me a
people
little bit
just
about that
don't.
podcast? Because we always like to know about these things.
Oh yeah, no, Don Mariano and Snarky Steve every Wednesday on Facebook Live. They're doing a fantastic job. They just telling it like it is. They investigate, and they're doing audits, and they're back. They do check their verification of their information, and they don't talk about something that they don't verify. So, that's a show that you can watch every week on Facebook. It's something you might be interested in watching. It's good information.
Oh, cool. So,
Yeah. So it's pretty good stuff. But anyway, yeah. So at this point, my attorney, I sent out a press release to quite a few news people. I'm hoping that I would get a phone call back, but I'd like to get this exposed because I have a food allergy. It's documented. So,
well, we have this now, and I'll be sharing this on X. And Jason usually shares these things on Facebook. So um, Connecticut Common Sense. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, and we're on Facebook. So if you don't like the platform you see it on, you can go find another one. And I personally can write something up about this. I can write you an article, and I will submit it to the Connecticut Sentinel. And they generally like what I do, so I imagine we can get something in there too.
well, I appreciate it. I mean, I need to get my girls home. I'm having food loss because they're, winter. If you're not there tending to them and hugging them and interacting with them, they're not going to lay. So this is
Wow,
costing me money. I have to drive 22 miles a day to go take care of my chickens every single day
that's
because
ridiculous.
I take care of my chickens. I don't just,
Right.
set it and forget it and walk away. It's an everyday task. I give them vitamins, and I cut up, all kinds of vegetables and make them a salad every day. During the winter, I give them warm oatmeal. And, you have to do things for them to lay every day. And at this moment,
Especially
I
during
have
the winter.
nothing in my home for eggs. I can't make mayonnaise. I can't make bread. you know. My husband's allergic to MSG. I haven't even gotten into that aspect. It's just me with the chickens, with the eggs for the oyster shells, you know. But
This was a big part of your health regimen, and you
it
counted
is,
on
yes, yes, it is absolutely, and it's a big part of my food intake, and it's now gone. I'm lucky if I get one egg a day, or if that, when I go out there. So I'm just, I'm not out there tending to them every day that they're used to, I mean, my granddaughter, she's homeschooled. This was a part of her our agricultural classes,
it. Oh,
and
wow.
tending to chickens, and you know what I mean? So it's disrupted quite a bit, not just my food source, but everything.
Yep,
So,
yep. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and being willing to talk about this.
and
So,
I appreciate you for being willing to help me with this. I've gone to everywhere, even my state rep, and I'm not getting anywhere. So,
yeah. Well, we don't have, media is very limited in Connecticut, which is why we do this podcast. So,
yeah,
we're going to see what we can do. And, thank you for your bravery and keep talking. And, you know, one among, many such stories to share with the public. So,
yeah. And
um,
this one is just too silly not to share at this point.
it
And
really
my
is.
my
Yeah.
neighbors were so supportive that they were all putting in those light up chickens in my front yard.
Oh my,
And one of them, no, I swear. And one of them, my alderman's wife, she painted me these two beautiful chicken paintings to go at the end of my driveway. And one of them is holding a sign. It says, "I told you it was just allergies." And
oh
there's chickens with the
my
funny faces looking at you. And she got so mad that they were there. She ripped down the fence between our driveway, which was only like 3 feet tall, and she put up a 6 foot fence.
Well, it's not a bad thing.
It's not, but it's just that silly.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's childish, it's ridiculous, and so now we have our little chicken protest. They're all pointing at her house. They light up every night and it's a beautiful scene.
Oh,
So,
I would love to see a photograph of that with cats. So,
I will definitely send it to you.
thank you. Thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
We're gonna sign off here. And thank you, Faith Lee, for being here with us. And God bless America and God bless Connecticut and God bless Waterbury because it
Yeah,
seems like you need it.
it is needed, trust me. They got people getting shot up downtown in the middle of the night, but they're ready to arrest me for 6 chickens.
Uh,
It just
is that
boggles
is
my
that
mind.
irony?
Oh,
It might be irony.
might be.
Might be.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.